and welcome to tonight's meeting of Gedling Borough Council Planning Committee. My name is Councillor John Truscott and I am Chair of Planning. As just to remind you that we are being live streamed, so you make sure that when you speak, can everybody please switch off their mobile phones? So when you speak clearly and distinctly into your microphone, so the television cameras can zoom onto you, so everybody can see who's speaking. Right, we'll start off with item number 1 on the agenda, which is apologies for absence and substitutions. Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Chair. I've had very late apologies from Councillor Miller. No substitute, obviously, because of the time.
Okay, thank you very much. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. Apologies from Councillor Adams, Councillor Barnfather and Councillor Parr. Usually you get 3 for the price of 1, but on this occasion you get 1 for the price of 3, and I'll be subbing for them. Thank you.
Yes, I'm sure that's a bargain. And can we approve as a correct record the minutes of the meeting held on the 8th of September, which you'll find on page 5 to 18 of your agenda papers? Would somebody like to move that? Thank you. Second. Thank you. All those in favour, please show. Okay, and against and abstentions. Okay, that is approved. Move on to the Planning Committee protocol, which is on pages 19 to 21 of your agenda papers. I'm sure you've all been studying that very hard in the since the last meeting. Declaration of interests. I will declare a collective non-pecuniary interest on the part of the Council for item number 4, 2021/0694, land south of Burton Road, Gedling. No, that's land of Teal Close, isn't it? Sorry, I'm confused myself. Sarah, which was the collective pecuniary interest?
Excuse me, sorry, it's item 5, land off Teal Close.
That was item 5, land off Teal Close, Netherfield, okay. So on to item 4 on the agenda, which is 2021, land south of Burton Road, Gedling. We have a speaker on this who is Claire Thornton, senior planner from Miller Homes, which is the applicant. And you'll find this application on page 24 of your agenda papers. Would you like to come up to the lectern, please, Claire Thornton, and give us your delivery of 3 minutes, I'm afraid.
Thank you, Chair. Good evening. My name's Claire Thornton and I'm a senior planner for Miller Homes. In accordance with the outline consent, the proposals are for 120 dwellings comprising of 96 market houses and 24 affordable houses, and the site's accessed off Burton Road. Throughout the consideration of the application, we have worked positively with your officers to ensure that the detailed proposals are acceptable. This has resulted in the final revised proposals put before you tonight. The proposals are in accordance with the density requirements of the local plan, making efficient use of the land whilst respecting the character of surrounding development and providing sufficient separation distances between properties. A variety of 2, 3 and 4 bedroom detached, semi-detached and terrace dwellings, including 2 wheelchair compliant bungalows, are proposed. The majority of the development will be red brick with some featured rendering with a mix of hipped and gabled roofs. This housing mix and design has the support of your officers. In accordance with the local plan, more than 10% of the total site area is proposed to be open space, including the provision of a traditional equipped play area within a central location and a large area of informal open space in the southern area of the site, which incorporates a natural area of play, a footpath and seating. A landscape-led approach has been adopted, with the majority of existing trees and hedgerows being retained, plus additional planting is proposed. The application will secure ecological enhancement at the site through the retention of the existing landscape features, plus the additional planting, with also the creation of a sustainable drainage pond, the installation of bat and bird boxes and hedgehog-friendly fencing. The Highway Authority has confirmed that they have no objections to the development, with the detailed proposals complying with all technical requirements, including the provision of parking and electric charging points. Also, please note there are no objections raised by any consultee. The proposals are fully policy compliant, including the provision of affordable housing and public open space on site, plus will deliver all the financial contributions secured in the Section 106 agreement that accompanies the development, such as towards education, healthcare, bus stops and libraries. In addition, the required SIL contribution will also be provided. These contributions will be for the benefit of both the existing and new residents within the local community. Miller Homes is committed to delivering the development of this allocated site, contributing 120 new homes to the council's housing supply, and would be looking to commence construction as soon as possible. I therefore respectfully urge councillors to support the recommendation and approve the application. Thank you, Chair.
Thank you very much indeed. I now like to ask Nigel Bryan, Principal Planning Officer, to further outline the application from the point of view of Gedling Borough Council Planning Department.
Thank you, Chair. Additional comments have been received from Severn Trent, and they confirm they raise no objection to the application, subject to entering in a Section 106 connection approval agreement, which will secure a foul pumping station on the site. And one additional letter of objection has been received also, but that raises no new issues not previously considered. The application seeks reserve matters approval pursuant to outline 2019-1186. Matters under consideration for this reserve matters are layout, scale, landscaping and appearance, with access having been previously approved. The application is the erection of some 120 dwellings on a site allocated for residential development. This includes 96 open market dwellings and 24 affordable units, including 2 bungalows. There are 2 main areas of public open space, one to the south of the site here, and one towards the central location just up here. And there will also be some ecological benefits as well as a trim trail. The dwellings are considered to be a suitable mix comprising 24 2-bed properties. And here's just some examples of the house types. 61 3-bed properties and 35 4-bedroom properties. The layout is considered to be acceptable and it will largely be outward facing and public open space will be overlooked. There is a varied mix of dwellings proposed, predominantly red brick with some focal points with render. There are a number of properties on Linden Grove that back onto the site. It is not considered that the amenity of these properties would be compromised and that back gardens will back onto other back gardens, and there will be adequate separation distances to ensure that immunity is respected. Parking will also be policy compliant, and there's been no objections from the Highway Authority. A number of other matters have also been resolved at the outline, including in respect of contamination and ecology. As outlined by the previous speaker, there's also been contributions secured towards education, the primary care trust, libraries and bus stop improvements. In regard to the matters that are under consideration as part of this reserve matters application, it is recommended for approval as outlined on pages 33 to 35 of the committee report. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. So there we have it. The proposal is erection of 120 dwellings with associated access, landscaping and infrastructure, etc., etc. Would anybody like to move that? Thank you very much. So do I have a seconder? Thank you. Okay. Anybody like to open the debate on this? Councillor Lawrence.
Thank you, Chair. There's a typo on page 27. It's bullet point 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, where it says house process in the area, and obviously it means house prices, which of course is not a material planning consideration. I see from paragraph 715 on page 32 that all of the material planning objections have been addressed. and also has already been said by the officer and is in the report in terms of traffic, the Highway Authority has no objections. So I'm quite happy to propose it and support it. Just like to ask, because it wasn't mentioned, so I'm assuming there wasn't one. Paragraph 4.2 on page 25 says that the Nottingham Wildlife Trust, there was no observations, and any observations will be reported at the meeting. Can I take it that they haven't sent in any observations? Thank you.
Thank you, Councillor Lawrence. Councillor Barnes.
Just, I can't find it in the minutes. Have we got any on the development? Is there any car electric points? Well, I don't know what they actually call them, but where you charge your car, because by the time these are built, we'd be more close to have electric cars, more people who want electric cars. So is that facility on the properties when they're built?
I think that was alluded to by Claire Thornton in her presentation.
Condition 10 of the outline secures EV charging points, yes.
David Ellis.
Thank you, Chair. I welcome these proposals. They look to be good quality proposals and looks like a very healthy development. Particularly welcome the fact that it's policy compliant around the financial contributions and the affordable homes, which we've had problems in the past. So I commend both Miller Homes and officers for bringing this forward. Thank you.
Thank you. Councillor Wilkinson.
Thank you, Chair. Yeah, I'd like to congratulate the officers and the applicant for working together so well to produce an excellent scheme, and I echo Councillor Ellis's thoughts around the Section 106 contributions and affordable housing. It does seem that pretty much all the objections that have been raised are matters which were covered in the outline stage and therefore aren't material to what is in front of us this evening, and I'm happy to support.
Thank you. Councillor Smith.
Thank you, Chairman. I'm pleased that this site does include a number of green open spaces and is wildlife friendly, but I do still have a couple of concerns about this proposal. The first being the loss of the gateway that is between Burton Pastures and Burton Joyce that this development would concrete over. This land is nature's break, if you like, between those two conurbations and should remain so. Secondly, I'm really disappointed that the Highways Authority have not objected or commented. I drive along Burton Road every day, and anyone who does so can confirm that Burton Road is mostly at a standstill during peak times. It can take, well, it took me over 20 minutes the other day to get from the traffic lights on Nottingham Road on the A612 through the bus plug traffic lights on Burton Road, which is where the entrance to this development is proposed to be. That is with the current levels of housing. Adding to that will make the traffic flow even worse. And let us not forget that this planning committee recently voted to move the main entrance of Cartwright Willers Academy onto Burton Road, which will turn Burton Road and the surrounding roads into a car park twice a day. I have grave concerns about that, and as I say, I'm disappointed the Highways Authority haven't echoed those. For those reasons, I think we should refuse the application and concentrate development on brownfield sites.
Thank you. Councillor McCrossan.
Just obviously, I read with interest about the drainage factors regarding the report that was produced. Is this part of a floodplain? I know it's close proximity to the Trent. Is the area ever frequent? Is it susceptible to flooding?
Not that I'm aware of, but through the conditions on the outline, they need to submit the final details of the drainage strategy. But in short, the surface water is going to be stored. That's going to be a retention basin where the surface water will ultimately drain into. And then there's a water course that runs along here that will link into, and I think it runs under here, and then underneath the Collet Loop Road. But in effect, it's going to have to be sustainably designed, so there shouldn't really be any flooding as a result of the application.
Thank you.
Anyone else like to contribute to this discussion or ask any questions? Are you all content that we move to the vote? Sorry, you can't. You've got the recommendation on page 33, which is to grant reserve matters approval subject to the imposition of conditions as set out in the report. Can I see all those in favour, please show? Okay. And against? And abstentions? Thank you very much. That application has been granted. If we can now move on to agenda item 5. Land of Teal Close. Thank you very much for your attendance. Variation of condition 5. Application 2019/0374. And I'm going to ask Principal Planning Officer Kevin Cartwright to elaborate on this particular item further, because it's quite complex.
Thank you, Chairman. Yeah, the application relates to the variation of a number of conditions of Outline Planning Permission 2017-099. Work is progressing well on site and approximately 200 dwellings have been constructed. The care home has been constructed and is currently open. The school and commercial units are also under construction within phase 1 and phase 2. And phase 3 of development, which is located on the west side of Collet Loop Road, has not yet commenced, although we do have a current reserve matters application lodged with us. The main access to the site onto Magenta Way from the Collet Loop Road is also constructed, as is the access to the commercial units off Stoke Lane. The specific subject to this application, as I say, is the variation of a number of conditions. Condition 2 relates to the removal of the access road, the secondary access road, which would serve phase 3. So currently the approved parameters plan shows 2 access points. That is the current access that is in Magenta Way. That would be the secondary access that is the subject to this condition. And as I say, it's been assessed by the local highway authority and they have no concerns about the removal of that secondary access point, as it merely duplicates the access that's gone in on opposite Magenta Way, and they see no reason for that additional secondary access to be there. So the variation of the condition would be, as we can flick between the 2 plans, is merely to omit that secondary access point. Condition 7 again relates to that parameters plan, and again it's just substituting this amended plan, removing that secondary access point. Condition 10 relates to amendments to the wording of the flood mitigation measures. Again, this is just more or less consolidating a non-material amendment that was already approved to the scheme, where it allows either flood resilience measures to be incorporated into the build, or the finished floor levels to be set up a further 300 millimetres above that to negate the need for those resilience measures. Condition 28 again relates to incorporating details that have been approved and constructed in relation to the primary access point on Magenta Way there from the Collet Loop Road. The works have already been undertaken and it's just really consolidating those. It's proposed to remove condition 30 and 31 as they require the traffic regulation orders. These works have already been done and the traffic regulation orders are in place, so the conditions no longer serve any purpose. Condition 32 would be deleted in lieu of a financial contribution to wider improvement works that the County Council have planned for Loudon Roundabout. This would, instead of improving a single arm, the idea is that there would be a financial contribution to the wider improvement works to this roundabout that the County Council have planned. So that's what that's off the website that the County Council have asked for a screening opinion. As I say, it encompasses wider works to the roundabout than just a single arm that we would have been asking for as part of the mitigation measures for the Teal Close scheme. So it makes sense that instead of doing possibly abortive work just on a single arm, which would then be superseded by the County Council's wider scheme, it makes more sense just to have a financial contribution to the bigger picture. Condition 33 would also be deleted, as it's no longer desirable to implement the junction improvements as was originally set out, as again the County Council has got wider plans to improve the junction. There are alternative measures that they wish to do at Mile End and Collick Loop Road is the formation of a pedestrian link and cycle route. The preference is to have those improvements rather than those originally considered. So again, to avoid abortive works, the idea is to have a financial contribution to mitigate this. Condition 35 relates to the provision of the footway and cycleway along Stoke Lane. That's what was previously approved, and what the amendments really are in so much that from the access that serves the commercial units back to Collick Loop Road would stay as is. That would be a footway and cycleway. Beyond the new access that goes in to serve the commercial units, back along the remainder of the frontage of the site along Stoke Lane would just be a pedestrian footpath rather than a cycleway as well. So they're just slightly downgrading the works there. All these matters have been assessed by the relevant bodies, be it the Environment Agency in relation to flooding and the Highway Authority in relation to highway improvements. There's no objection from those bodies in relation to the amendments proposed. Members will also note that the other conditions have also been updated and reworded to consolidate all the various discharge conditions that have taken place since the original approval. But it also note that the conditions are also reworded just to ensure that the relevant details are still submitted in relation to the outstanding phases, that being phase 3. So we still get details in relation to those outstanding reserve matters application. Thank you, Chairman.
Okay, thank you very much. So, there you have the proposal on page 38. Variations of condition 2, 7, 10, 28, 30, 31, 32, 33 and 35 for land of Teal Close. Would anybody like to move that? Thank you. And second? Thank you. Anybody like to speak to this application? Any questions, queries? Yes, Councillor Hope.
Thank you very much, Chair. It's just the one on flooding. I mean, these are quite hard to understand, but it seems to me that we're reducing the what's it called now? The finished floor levels from 20.96 metres to 20.69. I always think if there's a danger of flood, making things lower is not really a good idea. And I also would like to know what the difference is between provide a minimum of 300 millimetres flood resilience measures for all more vulnerable buildings as opposed to provide a minimum of 300 millimetre flood resilience measures for all more vulnerable buildings unless the floor of the buildings is set at least 300 millimetres above the finished floor levels. I mean, it seems to me that, I know it's not huge amounts, but it is, the original wording was probably more flood resistant than the new wording, you know, in the way it's got caveats. I don't think that's necessarily a good idea.
Yes, certainly.
Yeah, through you, Chairman. The idea is not to reduce the flood resilience measures, it's to give the alternative of either doing those flood resilience measures or building the dwellings a further 300 mil higher to negate the need for those flood resilience measures. We're not lowering the levels, it would be actually raising them up if they choose so, or do the same flood resilience measures. Those relate to the two different parts of the site, either side of the Collick Loop Road. The phase 2 stuff off Magenta Way is more sensitive to flooding because that's more in the floodplain than the other side of the Collick Loop Road. So that's what those two finished floor levels relate to. But we're not looking at dropping any of the levels. The idea is it's just building in the option of either doing the flood resilience measures, be it, that's usually waterproof front doors and back doors up to a certain, like 600 mil off the floor and things like that, just to stop water egress. It's to do those things, or if the dwellings are built a further 300 mil out of the ground beyond those specified finished floor levels, there is no need for that flood risk resilience measures because you're building it that much further out the ground.
Okay, Councillor Hope.
It doesn't read very well. I can't. It's difficult to digest. I understand
it was,
that. Yes.
and I can see what you're saying, but the one at the top, the first one, guarantees the 300 millimetres for all buildings.
Correct. Yes.
The second one doesn't seem to do that because there is that caveat unless, and that is my problem. I'm concerned.
The details have been assessed by the Environment Agency in relation to flooding, and the idea is that if you build the properties out of the ground by that additional 300 mil, that negates the need for the flood resilience measures because you are by default taking it out of that flood risk area by the additional height. If it's that 300 mil further down, they would still need to do the flood resilience measures. It's given them the option to do either.
Okay. Have we got any more contributions? Are you content to move to the vote? The recommendation is on page 54 that the application be granted permission subject to the applicant entering into a deed of variation amending the original section 106 agreement, etc., etc., etc. Can I see all those in favour, please show? And against? And abstentions? Okay, thank you very much. That application has been granted. We now move on to agenda item 6, which is 41 Clovelly Drive, Mapperley, which is a footpath diversion. And as it states in your agenda papers, this is only here because of the title of the footpath in question was incorrect in the last committee report when it's footpath, Carlton footpath. Can't remember which way. It's been corrected from Arnold footpath number 1 to Carlton footpath number 1 because of a mistake made by Nottinghamshire County Council's countryside access team. So I don't think, we really need to debate this. Would anybody like to move it and second it? Okay, we move to the vote. The recommendation is on page 71. Members authorised the evidence of governance, customer service, etc., etc. All those in favour, please show. Okay, and against and abstentions. Thank you very much. That is approved. Move on again to number 4, Angela Close, which is the report to the Planning Committee, material change of use to a dwelling. To mixed use. Anybody like to say anything on this one? So can I move this and second it and go to the vote on the recommendation that the head of development and place be authorised to take all relevant planning enforcement action. All those in favour, please show. And against and abstentions. Thank you very much. That has been approved. Next, we move on to a TPO, page 82, agenda item 8, Red Hill Pavilion, Thornton Avenue, Red Hill, protection of a group of trees. Would somebody like to move that?
Second.
Second, okay. We have the recommendation on page 83 to confirm the TPO 000144 without modifications. Can I see all those in favour? Please show. Thank you. And against and abstentions. That has been approved. Agenda item 9 on page 86, which is land to the rear of 111 Sandfield Road, Arnold. TPO, protection of a single solitary pear tree. Moved
Second.
and seconded. Move to the vote. The recommendation is on page 87 to confirm the TPO 000145 without modifications. All those in favour, please show. And against and abstentions. Then we can report to the Planning Committee of the 1 Oxton Road, Calverton. That is simply to note the information that we refused this extension and they appealed, and the inspector said that the appeal was dismissed because the result was an increase in 84.7% of floor space. Right, agenda item 11 is part of the Mansfield Ramper saga. There are 4 appeals here, and as it says, appeal A, B, and D have been dismissed, and C has been allowed, so we just have to accept that one. Agenda item 12, which is Spring Lane Farm, single-storey conservatory extension. We refused planning permission, they appealed. That appeal has been dismissed. Agenda item 13 on page 97, 14 Main Street, Linby, sorry. Alteration extensions to detached garage. In this, we refused the application. In this case, the appeal has been allowed, but they did apply for costs, and those costs have been refused, which means that our decision to refuse this application was based on quite legitimate grounds. Agenda item 14 is future planning applications. Agenda item 15 is action planning delegation planning. Any queries or questions on that? Nope. So, at the end of all that, we have agenda item 16. Any other items which the chair considers urgent? I don't have any. So I'd just like to say thank you all for coming, and wish you a safe journey home, and see you again next month for more exciting planning applications.